I got a wrong number text and it changed my life. It started with a text at 11:09 p.m. on a Thursday. I was half asleep, phone slipping from my hand, when it buzzed with, "Hey! Just landed. Can't wait to see you, Redheart." Totally the wrong number. I was about to ignore it, but something about the heart at the end made me feel guilty. Like I was part of someone else's little love story and didn't want to be the reason it crashed. So I replied, "Wrong number, but have a great visit. Hope whoever you're seeing is just as excited." Smiling face with smiling eyes. I figured that would be it. But a minute later, they responded, "Haha, oops. Sorry about that. Nervous energy. Visiting my dad after 10 years. Guess I sent it to the universe instead." Grinning face with sweat. And just like that, I was wide awake. I don't know what possessed me, but I wrote back, "Universe accepts. Deep breaths. You've got this, mystery traveler." That kicked off a conversation I never expected to have with a stranger. She told me her name was Lila, that she hadn't seen her dad since she was 15, and that she was sitting in the arrivals area, debating whether to Uber to a hotel or knock on his front door like some lost ghost. She said texting me felt safer than spiraling alone. And honestly, I didn't hate it. I told her my name. Gave her a couple of dumb dad joke pep talks. She sent me a blurry photo of the airport vending machine where she was stress-eating peanut M&Ms like a raccoon in heat. I laughed out loud. She was warm. Funny. Real. We talked until almost 2 a.m. That was supposed to be the end of it. But it wasn't. The next morning, I woke up to another message from Lila. Update, survived the reunion. Dad cried. I cried. His dog jumped on me and almost knocked out a tooth. 10 out of 10 emotional chaos. I don't know why, but my heart did this stupid little flip. I barely knew this girl, and by barely, I mean, not at all, but something about the way she wrote felt familiar. Like someone I already should have known. I sent back. Sounds like a successful trauma reunion. Bonus points for emotional canine ambush. She replied instantly. You're really making this weird trip feel not awful. Can I text you again later? And I said yes. Without hesitation. Like an idiot. Or maybe like someone who was just lonely enough to let a stranger become a threat in their day. We kept texting. Every few hours, she'd check in. She told me her dad made meatloaf and called her pumpkin like no time had passed. I told her about my microwave exploding when I tried to reheat leftover lasagna, still mad about that. She sent me a picture of an old childhood photo on her dad's fridge, her with a bowl cut and missing front teeth. I teased her about it. She called me a menace. By day 3, she wasn't a wrong number anymore. She was just Lila. My weird, unexpected pen pal who was slowly becoming the best part of my day. We never called. Never FaceTimed. Just texts. But those little gray bubbles? I started looking for them more than I cared to admit. And then on day 5, she sent this. Is it weird that I think about texting you before I even talk to my dad in the morning? I stared at that message for a long time. Because I was starting to feel the same way. By the end of that week, I knew more about Lila than I knew about some of my actual friends. She hated cilantro. Had a tiny tattoo of a jellyfish on her ankle, regret scale, medium-low. Cried every time she rewatched The Iron Giant. Used to dream about opening a used bookstore that served coffee and soup. Soup, specifically. Don't ask me why, I did, and she just said, soup has character. Meanwhile, she knew I hated mornings, still lived in the same apartment I moved into after college, and once ran out of gas in the middle of a car wash. Don't ask her why, I beg you. It was like confiding in a stranger made everything easier to say. One night, we were texting about our most embarrassing moments. Hers involved a karaoke rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody and a very unfortunate pair of roller skates. Mine, well, let's just say there's a grocery store in my hometown I still can't go back to. Then out of nowhere, she asked, "Be honest, do you ever wish we met a different way?" I stared at that one longer than I should have. Because, yeah. Every day since that first text, I'd wondered who she might be in real life. If we would have said hi at a coffee shop. Or reached for the same book at the library. Or passed each other in an airport and never known what we missed. So I replied, "Honestly? I kind of love the way we met. Feels like it's ours." A pause. Then. "Okay, but if we had met another way, what would you have said to me first?" I thought about it. Then I wrote. Probably something dumb. Like, "Hey, you dropped this smile." She sent back, "That is painfully cheesy." Then added, "But I'm saving it anyway." She was leaving her dad's place in 3 days. Headed back to her city. And I was already dreading what came after that. Do you ever meet someone and just know your timeline's better with them in it? Because I was starting to wonder if this wrong number might be the most right thing that had happened to me in years. The night before Lila's flight home, she texted me at 1:03 a.m. "Can I ask you something kind of dumb?" I was already awake. Of course I was. I replied. Dumb is my specialty. Ask away. She took a full minute before responding. "Do you think we'd like each other in person? Or is this just text magic?" That question hit me harder than I expected. Because we'd been living in this little digital snow globe, just the two of us, safe from the real world. No awkward silences. No mismatched timing. Just perfectly timed messages and emotional honesty we never owed each other but gave anyway. But I knew what she meant. "I think we'd like each other even more," I wrote back. "You'd make fun of my hoodie. I'd pretend not to notice when you steal the last fry." Another pause. Then. "You should come to the airport." I blinked. She added quickly. "No pressure. Just. I've never met someone like you. And I don't want to leave without at least trying to make this real." I stared at that message for a solid 5 minutes. My heart was pounding so loud I swear I could hear it echoing off the walls. This was the moment. The invisible line between what we are and what we could be. I typed. "Name the gate." And just like that, it was real. I didn't sleep. I just kept replaying it in my head. What if she looked at me and felt nothing? What if this only worked in text? But deep down, a part of me already knew I'd been falling for her long before I knew what she looked like. Tomorrow, I was finally going to find out who Lila really was. And maybe, just maybe, she'd feel the same way about me. I got to the airport 40 minutes early. Which, if you know me, is wildly out of character. I'm usually the sprint to the gate while chugging iced coffee type. But this? This felt different. I paced near the arrival escalators, holding a cardboard coffee cup that had long gone cold. My palms were sweating. My brain was in full-blown anxiety spiral. What if she changed her mind? What if she saw me and immediately regretted everything? What if I'd built the idea of her up so much that real life couldn't compete? And then I saw her. She stepped off the escalator with a carry-on bag and a look on her face that mirrored mine exactly, this open, nervous, almost unbelieving expression. Lila. In real life. And I swear, she looked exactly how I imagined. Not in the way someone looks in a dream, but in the way someone feels familiar. Like I'd walked into a memory I hadn't made yet. She spotted me, smiled, and said, "You look way taller than I pictured." I laughed. "You look exactly like someone who eats M&Ms like a raccoon." We stood there awkwardly for a second, unsure of what came next. Then she held up her coffee cup and grinned. Guess what I wrote on mine? I looked. In messy black Sharpie, it said, "Stranger friend." That was the name we jokingly started calling each other during our text marathons. Somehow, seeing it scrawled there felt perfect. We didn't hug. Didn't kiss. We just walked to the airport cafe and sat across from each other, talking like we had 100 times already. But this time, I could see her roll her eyes when she teased me. I could hear the way her laugh curled at the end. I could feel it, the thing we'd built turning into something real. And I didn't want it to end. Meeting her didn't ruin the magic. It was the magic. But she still had to board her flight. And I still had no idea what came next. So I asked her, "Do we go back to texting now?" She looked at me. And for a second, I thought maybe she'd say yes. But instead, she said, "Let's not make it just a story we tell people one day. Let's see where it goes." And then she got on the plane. So now what? I don't know. But I think I'm about to find out. The first few days after Lila left felt weirdly hollow. We still texted, of course we did, but something was different. Not bad different, just real. Like we'd crossed a line from storybook coincidence into actual life, and suddenly there were stakes. She was back in her city, back at work, back to routines I wasn't part of. And I was here, checking my phone more often than I'd ever admit, rereading old messages like they were diary entries. Then, 3 nights after she left, she sent, "Is it messed up that I miss someone I've only seen once in person?" I didn't even hesitate. "Only if it's messed up that I keep checking flights to your city." She sent back one word. "Come." I blinked. Then, before I could respond, she added, "Not right now. Not just to visit. But, eventually? What if this is a beginning, not just a cute glitch in the universe?" And that was when I knew. She wasn't playing. She wasn't here for a fairy tale spark that fades. She was serious. And so was I. We talked that night until almost 3 a.m. About what it would look like. Long-distance logistics. Careers. Timing. All the practical stuff you avoid when things are new and sparkly. But we weren't avoiding it. We were planning. And the next morning, she sent me a picture of an apartment listing in my city. "Found this. Has great light. And it's 10 minutes from you. No pressure. Just bookmarking the future." I sat on my bed, staring at my screen, and I swear I've never smiled that hard in my life. This all started with one wrong text. Now we're building something that might just be right in every way that matters. And I think I'm ready to see what a future with Lila looks like. A month later, she was here. I picked her up from the airport, same gate, same coffee shop, same knot in my stomach, but this time it was different. This time, she wasn't just visiting. She was moving. Lila stepped out of the terminal with 2 suitcases, a carry-on, and the same crooked smile that made me fall for her through a screen. She looked at me, tilted her head, and said, "So, where do you want your ex-stranger to live?" We laughed, but honestly, it still didn't feel real. Not until we pulled up to her new apartment, 10 minutes from mine, and I helped her carry boxes of books, thrifted mugs, and a literal framed photo of her in the jellyfish tattoo she had once regretted but now said she was emotionally reconciled with. The first night in her new place, we sat on the floor eating cheap takeout, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. She wore mismatched socks and my hoodie. I don't remember what we were talking about when she suddenly went quiet. "Do you ever think about how close we came to missing this?" she asked. I knew exactly what she meant. If she had typed one digit differently. If I had ignored the text. If we'd both just let it go, like most people would. None of this would have happened. "All the time," I said. "But I'm glad we didn't." She looked at me like she was trying to memorize the moment. Then she held up her phone and said, "Remember the first thing you ever said to me?" I grinned. "Wrong number, but have a great visit." Iconic. She shook her head. "Nope. It was, you got this, mystery traveler." She scrolled through her messages, found it, and saved it in her notes under the title. Day 1. That night, as I was leaving, she hugged me a little longer than usual. And right before she closed the door, she whispered, "This isn't a glitch in the universe. It's the universe giving us a second shot." And I think she's right. Ever had one small moment change everything? Because we're 7 weeks into this story, and somehow, it keeps getting better. It's been a year. A whole, ridiculous, beautiful, unpredictable year since I got a wrong number text from a stranger who just wanted someone to tell her it was going to be okay. Lila lives here now. Not just in the same city here, but here, in my life. In my space. In my kitchen, making soup at 10 p.m. because it feels like a soup night. In my playlists, my toothbrush drawer, my Sunday mornings. Some days, it still hits me all over again, this wild, lucky thing we stumbled into. She'll be sitting on the couch, wrapped in the same hoodie she stole from me after week 3, and I'll think, "You were never supposed to be here. And yet you are." We framed the screenshot of our first ever text exchange and hung it by the door. People always ask if it's a joke. We just say, "Nope. That's literally how we met." And then we get to tell the story all over again. The best part? Last night, we were cleaning up after dinner, and I was tossing receipts and old mail when I saw a small envelope with my name in her handwriting. She hadn't said anything about it. Inside was a card that read, "Hey, just landed. Can't wait to see you. The universe." Underneath, she wrote, "Thanks for texting back.